Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. On the docket today for us is our Interview Essentials presentation, Strategies for Standing Out and Succeeding. Before we get started with our presentation today, having our presenter take us on this journey together with Interviewing Essentials, we want to go ahead and do our introduction so all of you as our audience today know who you're chatting with. So I'll go ahead and get started and then hand it over to our presenter today. My name is Courtney Carter. I'm one of the CTE counselors here at RCC, but I also wear a couple other hats. As you all know me today as the Career Center Coordinator. So I'm one of the main facilitators of the resources and support services that come out of our Career Center, facilitating our space and working in close partnership with our presenter today, Shay Anderson. So she'll talk a bit about herself shortly here. But I wear the Career Center Coordinator hat, and I also wear another institutional hat called Guided Pathways. Guided Pathways is the institutional's framework and efforts to help students get from entry, right, and onboarding to the college, go through their journey here to get on-campus supports. We call it holistic student supports through the work in their engagement centers and success teams and other support services throughout the college. And then ensuring that we're able to help students move forward and get to graduation. So that's another hat that I wear here at the institution. I've been at the college for about over 5 years now. Time flies. I'm a tiger right with you all. And yeah, I'm glad to be here with each of you, and I'm glad all of you have chosen to be with us today to talk about this very important topic. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to our presenter, Shay Anderson. She'll tell you all a little bit about herself, and then she'll get us going with the topic. Go for it, Shay.
Hi, everyone. Of course, my name is Shay, and I'm an educational resource advisor here in the Career Center. I have multiple different tasks here in the Career Center. I assist with, helping students find jobs, creating or updating your resume, also writing cover letters. If you're not sure about your career path, I can help you assist and explore different options that you may have in mind. I can also help you build your class schedule for a semester. So if you guys, for some reason, can't get in contact with the counselor right away, you can see myself or any ed advisor on campus, just to let you guys know, can help you assist with at least one semester. And then if you also need help connecting with the counselor, I can help you with that as well. So today we're going to be talking about interviews. I know interviews can sometimes be a bit stressful, but my goal here today is to give you practical tips so you can feel much more confident and just prepared for your next interview. So let's get started. I'm going to go over to the next slide. So here's our agenda for today. So first, we'll take a look at what an interview actually is and why it's important. Then we'll get into how to prepare before your interview, including things like what to wear and how to present yourself. We'll also talk about crafting your elevator pitch, which is just a short way to introduce yourself. Then I'll show you how to use the STAR method, which is a really good way to answer those common interview questions. We'll go over what to do after an interview, and I'll share some resources that you can also use. And of course, if you have any questions as we go along, just drop them in the chat. And as we're moving along with the presentation, my colleague Courtney will definitely make sure that he answers any questions. Or if you want to wait to the very end, we'll have a little bit of time to ask questions as well and also answer them. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So introducing, just the introduction to interviewing. So an interview is a structured conversation between an interviewer and an interviewee. Its primary purpose is to pretty much screen candidates to see who is able and has the ability to articulate a persuasive message about their qualifications. So really think about it as them getting to know you and seeing if you're a really great fit for the company. And importance of interviews is, of course, assessment of qualifications, which helps you dive deeper into applicants' qualifications, experiences, and skills beyond what is presented on paper. Next would be evaluation of fit. How well an applicant's personality, their work style, and values align with the company's culture and the requirements of that job. Another two-way communication. Not only are interviews just an opportunity to discuss your qualifications, but also a chance to ask questions you may have about the role and the company. This can also be a thing for employers when it comes to different advocates where they can talk about the communication, the skills, and it's a way, of course, for you to show enthusiasm and just interest in the position. That's one thing you really want to do is show enthusiasm because you want to work there, you want to be there, you want to be a part of the culture there at that particular company. And then the final selection, interviews can often serve as, of course, a final step. Sometimes you have a 1 or 2 or 3-step interview process where employers make decisions about extending job offers to most of the qualified candidates. So again, try not to think of interviews as a test. Think of it as a two-way conversation where both two people are trying to see if they're a good match for each other. Because just like a recruiter can offer you a job, you also have the option to decline the job if it's not something that serves a good purpose for you. So remember, it's not just about answering questions. They just want to see your personality, your energy, and see how well you get along with everyone. So there are various types of interviews conducted by employers, each with their own format and purpose. So we have, just right now, we have 6 on board right here. And then we're going to start off with traditional interviews. So first, there's just the one-on-one interview. This is probably the most common one. Just you, one other person, usually the manager, someone from HR. They'll ask you questions about your background, your experience, and your skills, and ask you why you want to work here. And again, it's a one-on-one process, not too intimidating. Again, treat it as a professional conversation that you're having with someone. Next, we have behavioral interviews. So the idea here is that this interview style is set up to help the interviewer predict how you'll act in the future, which is to look at how you handled things in the past. So you'll get questions like, tell me about a time you had to work with a difficult teammate, or give me an example of when you had to solve a problem under pressure. They're looking for real stories from your experience, not just hypotheticals. So even if you don't have experience in a working field in terms of different dynamics that you may have had with difficult teammates, you can also revert to your school setting. We work in groups here all the time. Have you had to deal with a difficult group member? Or did you have to deal with a difficult classmate? How did you handle it? Those are things that they want to know. So how are you under pressure? Can you handle the pressure or can you not handle the pressure? So look at it that way. Next, we have what's considered panel interviews. This is when you're sitting in front of several people at once, maybe 3 or more, who all of them will take turns asking you questions. Now, I'm not going to lie, having a panel interview is very intimidating. It is. When I interviewed here, I was on a panel of like 5 or 6 different people. And I'm not going to lie, I was sweating bullets. I was sweating bullets. And but I had to relax. And the best thing that I did was make sure that whoever was speaking at that time and asking questions, I made sure that I focused on that person and then found a way to make eye contact and connect with everybody. So just make sure when you are on a panel interview, you're trying your best to connect with everyone, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. Try to find that happy medium to where when you're speaking, you're making eye contact with each and every last one of them, letting them know that you're happy to be here, you want to be here, and that you're focused and you're paying attention. Mostly when it comes to panel interviews, it's not necessarily everyone from that particular department. It can range from different departments. So one person from over here, another person from over there, you may have an HR rep there. So just know it's multiple people just coming in to help assist with the interview. And again, it can be intimidating. So don't think that it can't, because it very well can. But just remember, make eye contact with whoever's talking to you and try to engage with everyone on the panel as much as possible. Not just one person, but everyone. The next we have our phone interviews or video interviews. Now, these interviews, are conducted remotely, typically at the initial stages of the hiring process. So normally for your first interview, you'll either have a phone interview or it can be a Zoom interview. And of course, this is pretty much to screen out candidates to see who they're going to invite. Again, it's totally at the beginning, unless it's set up and they tell you, hey, you're going to have two, Zoom or a phone interview, then a Zoom interview. But typically phone and Zoom interviews are normally the first type of the first interview that you have with the company, depending on if that's the route that they choose. Now, remember, if it's through Zoom, you still want to dress accordingly. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. I think that's one of my favorite sayings, and Courtney knows I say this often, because that first impression that you meet someone, whether it is in person, over the phone, or on Zoom, you want to make sure that you're approachable. You want to make sure that you have your listening ears on. You want to make sure that that person that is interviewing you knows that you are taking this seriously. And I'll say this, when it comes to phone interviews, you don't want to answer the phone like this. You don't want to sound like you got an attitude on the phone. Even through the phone, you can still show a smile by sounding a little bit more pleasant, controlling and working on your tone, your volume. All of those things matter when you are doing a phone interview. You don't want to sound nasty over the phone. That's the quickest way to get someone to hang up on you, including a recruiter. So of course, when it comes to phone interviews specifically, watch your tone. You always want to smile through your tone. Sound pleasant, sound happy, sound excited, sound enthusiastic about what it is that you are doing, that you're interviewing for. So the next one is case interviews. So some jobs, especially in finance or consulting, use case interviews. In these, they'll give you a scenario or problem and see how you approach solving that problem. So for example, they might ask you to figure out how a company can increase sales or handle a crisis. They're interested in your thought process and the breakdown of just how you think overall. Again, still wanting to know how you handle things under pressure, but more of an analytical breakdown of things. And then the last one that I want to go over with you is group interviews. So here you might be interviewed alongside other candidates. I've been in group interviews before where we've had a maximum of 6 to 8 people. And it really all depends. It could be you and another person. It could be 3 to 4 people. Just know if it's a group interview, it's more than you. So just always know it's more than you. You never know how much, but just know it's not going to be just you. And during this type of interview, they want to see how you communicate well, not just with the team, but with the people around you. Do you have great energy speaking with other people? Are you cheering people on while they're interviewing? Are you showing and having a pleasant attitude? The most important things with those types of interviews is really to just be yourself, stay positive, and try not to dominate the conversation. Of course, show your excitement and enthusiasm, but don't overdo it. It's pretty much they want to see how well you can work with others. So we're going to move on to the next slide, which is preparing for the interview. So just preparing for an interview, this part is essential. So no matter what position you're applying to, preparation should begin before you honestly even apply. So research the company's history, the mission, the values, the products or the services. Also try to brainstorm just for yourself how it aligns with your values and your career goals. Here at the Career Center, we try to stress to search for jobs with intention. So if you are in the business field and you're in business management, for example, and you're looking for management roles, that's looking for jobs with intention, because that goes hand in hand with your major. Now, of course, it's not always set up that way. Sometimes you just want a job just because, hey, I need money and I need it now, and this is what my situation is. Even still, if you're going to go that route when it comes to searching for a job, you still want to try to find something that you like. Don't get an office job knowing that you're going to be sitting down all day long, talking to people, answering phones, when you're better at multitasking and working in a fast pace, like working at like a restaurant or of some sort. So still always when you're researching the companies that you're looking for, again, history, mission, values. Use that in your interview as you're speaking to them, because it sets you apart from the rest of the people, because I'll guarantee you it's not many people that are looking up the history, the mission statement, the values, the products, the services, and are using that as what they know when they're asked about, what do you know about the company? So, two, understand the job role. So, understanding the responsibilities, the qualifications, and the expectations for that role. What do you want in this position? And that's something that you want to prepare again ahead of time. When you're looking at the responsibilities, really ask yourself, hey, can I perform these tasks? When it comes to qualifications, do I check off all of those boxes? Do I have my associate's degree? Do I have a car? Do I have insurance? All of the things that it may be asking in terms of qualifications and responsibilities for that role. Use that as a checklist to make sure that you are crossing off everything so that you can know for yourself if you are the perfect candidate. And of course, there is not always such as a perfect candidate, but if you meet those qualifications and it feels right to you, that's perfect enough for me. So again, make sure understanding the duties, the responsibilities, the skills, the qualifications, and making sure that it aligns with you before you even apply, because what you don't want to do is waste your time or waste other people's time. So next, clean up your social media presence. It's crucial because, believe it or not, employers do use social media as a part of their screening process to assess candidates' professionalism, their character, and to see if they're even suitable for the role. What you don't want is to have people, let's say, snooping around trying to see, hey, is this person on Instagram? What does your Instagram look like? Make sure that during the time that you are searching for a job, I say this is just a tip for you. Keep your pages private, because what you don't want to do is have something up, especially if it's your personal page, and it'll have something that could be inappropriate that will go against company policies and their mission and their values. And the next thing you know, you don't even understand why you possibly didn't get passed on, because they seen your social media platform and you were out and you were doing personal things on your personal time. And even though it may be okay on your personal time, if it doesn't align with the company, they do have the right to refuse. So make sure taking care of that. And also to try not to have like your actual name on your social media platforms, unless it's more like a small business that you're operating from. That's the quickest way for somebody to be able to find you. For example, my middle name's Sarah. I'll say Sarah Anderson. They can look up Sarah Anderson, see my photo, put a name to a face, see that I'm out on weekends, I'm in the nightlife. That's really none of their business, but they'll make it their business and they'll judge you based off of that. So you really, really want to be careful with how you navigate social media, especially when you're in the market looking for a job. Again, this can include removing inappropriate photos, comments, or offensive languages, removing your privacy setting, changing your profile from public to private, setup, changing your voicemails on your phone. Because I've called so many students and they've had songs on their voicemail, which it may be cool to you, but if you're in a professional setting and you're looking for jobs, that's not something that you want to have. So you might want to just alter that a bit. And then also having an appropriate email address. You don't want your email address to be something super duper wacky, and then the employer is trying to email you and they're looking at it like, oh, okay, because at the end of the day, people are visuals. They're going to judge what they see. Now, is that always the correct way to do things? No, but people will be people, and you have to understand the essence of people. People are visual. That's just something that people naturally do. So understand that updating all of your personal information, even if you have a LinkedIn, updating your LinkedIn, making sure that it is up to date with all current information, because I guarantee you they're going to try to see if you have a LinkedIn account and what type of activity you have on there as well. And then before the interview, just practice common interview questions, practice answering questions confidently. Interviewing doesn't always come natural to some, so making sure that you're prepared before going in, making sure you're focused on specific examples and achievements from your experiences. That's something that you really want to pay attention to. And then last but not least, prepare questions to ask. Asking questions, of course, demonstrates your interest in the position and your enthusiasm for learning about the company and what you can bring to the table to that specific company. So set up questions and go from there. We're going to go ahead and go on to that next slide. So this one, presenting yourself professionally. So dressing professionally creates a positive first impression and demonstrates respect for the interviewer and the opportunity. It also can help boost your confidence because when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you do good. So you always want to make sure that you are dressed for success always. So let's just go over like 3 key factors when it comes to presenting yourself in a professional way. So of course, dress appropriately. Research the company's culture and dress code and see what the norm is. You don't want to, of course, just overdo it where you're just suited and booted. You got a tuxedo on and you got some slick shoes. That's not necessarily the look, but having a nice like casual top with a collar shirt, maybe some nice slacks, some nice shoes that fit you appropriately, not shoes that are hurting or too big and flopping off of your feet. No thong sandals. No, try to stay away from sandals overall, especially if you're nervous already. I know I'm the type of person when I'm nervous, I don't know, my body likes to randomly trip and fall over things. So I know I'm going to wear the appropriate shoes to make sure that I feel confident and I feel good and I know that I'm going in there dressed accordingly. Of course, always aim for a polished look. When in doubt, it's better to dress slightly more formal than too casual. You don't want to go in there with a t-shirt and jeans, please. Please, I don't care if you are interviewing for McDonald's. I don't care if you're interviewing for Burlington, Walgreens. I don't care. No t-shirt, no jeans. It's unprofessional and it shows the lack of care you have and consideration for yourself. Grooming and hygiene. Please maintain good grooming habits. Make sure your hair is brushed, combed, braided. Whatever the case is, make sure that your hair looks nice. Gentlemen, facial hair, try to get a lineup, you know, make sure your hair is combed and clean. Make sure that your nails aren't dirty. You smell good. You smell fresh. Your breath is fresh. All of that matters because all of that is a part of presentation. Practice good personal hygiene. I know some, when people are nervous, they sweat. Sometimes sweat can bring musk. Make sure you have deodorant. Make sure they have female wipes, man wipes. Keep those, especially when you're going into an interview because it builds, you're already going to be nervous, right? With you being nervous, you're going to have different things that are happening in that moment. Your hands are sweating. I know me, and that's how I am. My hands are sweating. I'm sweating. I'm just sweating and I'm nervous. So always make sure you got to wipe yourself down. Bring some extra spare deodorant. Make sure you have some perfume for it or some cologne, something to make sure that you're smelling fresh when you're walking in there. And of course, avoid excessive scents. You don't want to overdo it. A little spray here, spray in the air walking through it, something simple. You don't want to have too much of a strong smell to where it's distracting. So try to just loosen it up a bit, but of course, make sure that your hygiene is A1. And then of course, details for accessories, select accessories that complement your outfit without being distraction. You don't need big bangle earrings. You don't need that. None with your name in it. You don't need big hoops going into an interview. I'm telling you, it not only can it be distracting, but in certain instances, depending on where you're interviewing at, it can also be a little tacky. You want to stay away from tackiness at all costs. That's not the energy you want to give off. I always say if you're going to have earrings in, try to have some nice studs in, nice diamond studs, rhinestones, whatever you can find, something cute, something dainty. If you are going to wear watches, you don't necessarily need a huge watch on showing that, hey, you don't need that. Something nice, sophisticated looking, not over the top. Ensure that your clothing fits well. Ladies, you don't want to have a too tight pencil skirt to where you can't walk and you're having a hard time even sitting down. I've been there, done that. You don't want to do that. And then another thing I want to touch on when it comes to just your overall clothing and the way that it fits and everything, wrinkles. Please, please, everyone, invest in an iron, a steamer, an ironing board. I see a lot of students that's come in that'll ask me for interview advice and how to dress, and their shirt is wrinkled, their pants are wrinkled. Now, I'm not saying you have to iron a line or crease in your pants like our grandparents used to do, but making sure that you are taking your shirt, your pants, knocking the wrinkles out so you can have a nice clean look, making sure there's no stains, no tears. That's what's important. You always want to come clean, classic, and correct. Keep it simple. Most importantly, keep it simple. Try to dress like try to have like a setup of more formal clothes than anything else. Again, no t-shirts, no jeans, no sandals. Try to stay away from that, especially when it comes to going into an interview. Next slide, we're going to look at a few examples. So this is more of a professional attire that you have. Usually looks like wearing like a tailored suit. And here's the thing, you don't always have to have a suit. This is like the go-to. I'll say that. This is like the go-to. This is like, okay, this is more, I'm dressed to impress. I'm here. You don't always have to have this setup, but it is nice to have it. Ladies, with the heels, you don't have to wear 6-inch heels to an interview. You don't have to wear stilettos. Nice cat heels sometimes can suffice because, again, you don't want to overdo the look. You want to have nice button downs, nice loose pencil skirts that aren't too tight. Men, you want to make sure that, you have, if you do have ties, wear them. You want to have a collared shirt, a nice suit jacket, some slacks. This is like highest level of professionalism. But then we also have our business casual attire, which is always something that I'm aiming for. I love dresses. I love my kitten heels. I love to look comfortable, but still have that business look to you. That's something that you want to aim for. So I don't know if you guys want to take a picture of this. I'll go back to this one just in case so you guys can have some examples of what like a professional attire is, and then just your business casual. So I'll give you a few seconds. And we'll
And
go over
Shay,
to
I
the
can
next
add
one.
to this one as well. If
Yeah.
you can go back to the professional attire, right? When you're
Yes.
talking about men's suits on the right there,
Mhm.
typical colors, right? You usually want to walk in, fancy party wedding suits necessarily,
Mhm.
right? Or black tie occasions like that. You're more looking at a navy suit, like the gentleman there in the middle. Or the gray, right? Medium to darker gray suit colors, like the folks on the right there for the men. Same thing for the women's suits. Usually you're looking at those navies, you're looking at the
Mhm.
grays, either medium or darker grays there when you're talking about suit colors. So I just wanted to touch on that when you're talking about the button-up shirts, right? Usually the white or soft colors, right? Not popping out bright this, bright that, right? You want to keep it, for lack of a better term, more on the conservative side with the colors, right?
Mhm.
Because you don't want them to be blinded by the suit colors, right? Or the shirt color and things like that, or even have too many accessories, right? So
Mhm.
you want to keep it balanced. You want to keep it simple with the colors that you select and the supporting, jewelry and whatever that you have. So I just wanted to add that piece, Shay.
Do you have anything for business casual attire that you wanted to add?
Well, it's the same type of mentality, right?
Yep.
Nothing too bright, even when you're looking at the browns, right? The brown
Mhm.
colors here, like the base foundational khaki color, right, can do. But when we're talking about business casual as well as professional attire, it's really important for you to know the culture of that role, right? And the culture of the company. Shay mentioned this earlier as she was talking about preparation, right, for the interviews. Knowing what the expectation is within that work environment and that work role, can help you make the right decisions of the type of attire that you want to wear, right? In some instances, employers tell you in their communication to you, right? I know
Mhm.
I was previously in a role where I worked directly with recruiters and employers, and they let me know that they specifically told individuals that we won't, all they needed to do is wear jeans and a polo, right? Coming in for the interview. They were that specific. Not all
Mhm.
employers are going to be like that, right? But you doing your homework on the type of culture that this company holds, right, is a good way to go and can allow you to make appropriate decisions, whether to go in business casual, like the pictures here, or to wear more professional attire, like the position prior, right? Like the, sorry, pictures prior.
And one other thing before we get off of just how to present yourself wardrobe wise, try to stay away from wearing your Apple watches or any sort of digital watch that makes noise. I remember I had an interview a while ago. This was a few years ago, and I had on my Apple Watch. And even though I cut my phone off for the interview, guess what started ringing? That Apple Watch. It was vibrating and it was ringing, and it literally destroyed the interview. And the reason why I say it destroyed the interview is because not only was it a distraction, that's still a form of communication that I have on my wrist, and I did not take heed and take either remove it, silence it, or just completely turn it off. And it literally went off in the middle of the interviewer asking me a question, and I was completely embarrassed. So if you are known to have a Apple Watch or an Android watch or any type of watch that makes noise, either turn it off or remove it, because I'm telling you, you will mess up the entire interview with simply a text message if it goes off. So again, that's just something that I wanted to add to that. So we're going to go ahead over to the next slide. We're going to go presenting yourself professionally. So this is more about body language, so to speak, which is just as important as what you say. I have been in interviews where people are slouching, people, their shoulders are hunched over like this, or they have their hands on their face like this, or they're twiddling around with something. Your body language says a lot. Just because you say one thing, your body language can also say another. Even if you're going into the interview saying that you're happy to be there and you're excited, but your body language is reading, you're just slouched over, your arms are crossed, you're this, you want to stay away from all of that. So there's a trick called the Solar method that helps. So just we have the acronyms up. So S is for sit squarely. So sit up, legs together, open posture. You want to have your shoulders back, head up straight, lean in. And it's okay to lean in, not lean in like this to where you're all in the camera, but leaning in slightly just to show a little bit of confidence. Eye contact, which is so important. Again, you want to make sure that you're having great eye contact with the interviewer, or if you're on a panel, you're making sure that you are connecting with everyone on that panel by using a good eye contact. And then most importantly, relax. This isn't going into an interview. Yes, you're going to be nervous, but you don't have to be too nervous to where you tense up, your shoulders are like this, you're tapping the desk with your fingers. You want to try to avoid all that. If anything, I say keep your hands folded, maybe place them on a desk or on the table, depending on where you're interviewing, or you can slightly place them in your lap, just so that way you can give the interviewer your undivided attention. Again, body language matters. You want to stay away from a body language that gives off you don't want to be here, or this is boring. That's another one that I've seen, Courtney, where people will come in and they act like they're bored during the interview. You can't do that. That's, again, an interviewer will see that and look at you, and then in their mind they will say, you know what, this person isn't a good fit because they don't even seem like they want to be here. So you want to try to stay away from that, as well as making sure that you have great body language. You also want to make sure that the facial expressions that you're giving, I know this one's hard for me because I'm already very theatrical in a sense. So sometimes my facial expressions can read, oh, I hate the world, but I'm really happy. So sometimes it's best to try to show how happy you are. And no, you don't have to walk around cheesing all day long, but a simple smile will suffice. It doesn't have to show teeth, but relaxing your facial features, making sure that your eyebrows aren't all twisted up, calm, light, not too heavy, but making sure that whatever your body language is showing, show that you want to be in that interview, most importantly. So let's move on to the next slide. So this one, what is the most common interview question? So the most common interview question is, of course, tell me about yourself. And a lot of people get tripped up on this question because they don't know how to answer it. They're answering the questions, well, I was born and raised in such and such and such and such, and I am this age. And yes, that is a part of tell me about yourself, but not necessarily when it comes to an interview. This is the chance for you to give a quick summary of who you are, what you do, and what makes you unique to the position, which leads us into the elevator pitch. And it's recommended for an elevator pitch to be prepared before even going into an interview. So let's go to the next slide and we'll discuss what is an elevator pitch and how to craft it. So if you're wondering right now, what is an elevator pitch? So it is a 30 to 60-second introduction that answers three things: who you are, what do you do, and what makes you unique. Having a good elevator pitch really does show that you're prepared, professional, and confident. Plus, it also helps you stand out in networking events too. You don't just have to use an elevator pitch in an interview. When you are on networking events, or even if you are on campus and you're at an event, that quick elevator pitch can literally go a long way. So the next slide, we'll go over just a few like samples and how to structure it. So here's how to build your elevator pitch. So first, introduce yourself. Say your name and what you're studying or your field of interest. So, hi, my name is Nishay Anderson. That's my real name. My name is Nishay Anderson. I am studying at Cal Lutheran for my Master of Science in Counseling and College Student Personnel. Something simple, just like that. Next, talk about your experience. Are you a student? Have you worked before? Have you volunteered? Now, this one you can customize because depending on what job you're interviewing for, you can throw in are you a student or have you worked before? You can pretty much decipher through those two. Or if you even volunteered in that industry, you can also bring up that experience as well. Do you have hobbies or interests that's relatable to the job? So again, the key thing is your skills or hobbies relatable to the job? You don't want to go into a manager's position and say, I like hiking on the weekends. That's not necessarily something that they're looking for. And although that's great, a lot of us like hiking on the weekends, but that's not something that they're necessarily looking for. So maybe if you worked on a project that you're proud of, something that is relatable to that position, that's something that you want to mention. Then you can share your goals. What are you working toward? What is your next steps? And then finally, what makes you stand out? Maybe you've earned an award at some point. Maybe you've taken extra training and you got a certification in that particular field. Or if you have a unique skill that you want to share it. Using that 30 to 60-second time frame, it's a good time to find small ways to, I'll say, brag about yourself a little bit. Not doing it in an excessive way, as if you're trying to, tell people, hey, this is what I can do and I can do this. But in a nice, appreciative, confident way, you want to go in just bragging about yourself just a little bit, of course, and especially if it pertains to that particular job. So we'll head over to an example. Now, mind you, you don't have to read everything off here. I'll sum it up, of course, because this is a lot. So if you guys wanted to take a picture just of this to have an example of how you can set up a elevator pitch, go ahead. So, but let me just give you just a quick example so you can see what it sounds like put together. So, hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm a junior studying at California State University, San Bernardino. Through my classes and internship, I've discovered a passion for digital marketing and data analytics. I've recently finished a summer internship where I managed social media campaigns and data market research, which actually boosted engagement by 20%. I'm really excited to use my skills and experience in a creative team, and I think my mix of technical skills and creativity makes me a strong fit for your digital marketing roles. So you see how that covers who she is, what she does, her experience, her goals, and just what makes her unique. And again, yours does not have to sound exactly like that. This is something that you're setting up during your own time. And pretty much writing down things that are unique about yourself that you can talk about during an elevator pitch, especially if it pertains to a specific job. Or if you're at a networking event, you can always take the same strategies in terms of creating an elevator pitch and use it for that as well. It can go hand in hand, but for an interview process, it can definitely be a great kickstart to your interview if you go about using the elevator pitch. So we'll go on to just answering some.
Shay?
Yes.
Shay, if I could just add something real
Oh,
quick
yeah,
to the
yeah,
elevator pitch, if you can go back one. Perfect,
yeah.
perfect. I just want to share with the audience, and just so you all, really, really understand our suggestion here, the elevator pitch is really a good tool. So for you all to really begin thinking what your background and impact is, right? And really what those goals are that will allow you to go on your educational and career journey, and then to identify what aspects allow you personally to stand out versus other candidates or other folks who are interested in the roles you're interested in. The elevator pitch, as Shay mentioned, and I just want to emphasize, is a great tool for networking situations and works really well for introductions to folks who you don't know and who you haven't met before, right? Great introductory. These are great introductory 30-second to 1 minute statements that gives folks a summary, right, of who you are and what you're bringing to the table. What we're suggesting that you do as it relates to interviews, if you can create an elevator pitch, you can use that as your foundation and build on that to answer the tell us about yourself question, right? In an interview. Usually you don't want to just spend 30 seconds to a minute on that. You want to take a couple minutes, right? Because that is your chance to start the interview off strong and to be able to set the tone, right? So they know that you have the ability to articulate your value and the connection of you, who you are and your background and education, and how that directly links to you being a good candidate for the role you're applying for, that you're there to convince them you're a good candidate for. So do know that the elevator pitch is just the beginning point, right? The 30-second to a minute version you can use in networking opportunities. But in the actual interview, you'll want to expand on that to really hit on your education, your background relevant experience, whether it be work, volunteer, extracurricular activities, and any other great experiences and training and development that you've had that make you a great candidate. So just wanted to emphasize that piece a little bit more to you all. Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's go head over to the next slide where answering interview questions. Now we have a few things to go over with this one. So start off by understanding the question. So when you are listening to the interviewer asking questions, make sure that you listen carefully and ensure that you understand what is being asked of you. Just know it is okay to ask the interviewer, hey, can you repeat that? Or, hey, I just want to get some clarification. Could you possibly explain that to me because I don't understand? It's okay if you don't understand something. That's nothing to be embarrassed about. Now, what is embarrassing if you're just sitting there wondering what the interviewer is asking you, what does it mean, and then possibly coming up with the wrong answer in your head. It's always best to ask for clarification. Don't ever be afraid to do so. So be specific and relevant. So provide specific examples and details from your experiences to support your answers and demonstrate your qualifications, and tailor your responses to the job requirements and the specific competencies or skills that the interviewer is addressing, which is why I said in the beginning, make sure that you are going over the qualifications, the skills, the interests, and everything before you apply, because all of that information, you should be one, checking off to make sure that you qualify just for yourself, but two, also using those in the interview process as you're answering those questions. It can help be a great sentence starter for you. It can help you develop your conversation with the employer, and it can help you hit those most important valuable marks that the employer may be looking for in an interview. Showcasing your skills. Highlight your strengths, your achievements, and all relevant experiences that demonstrate your ability to perform well in the role. You want to try to stay away from things that don't serve the employer any purpose. So if you're talking about your favorite hobby, unless your hobby correlates with the job, you kind of want to stay away from those skills. Just if you're going into a job working for administration, you don't want to let them know, yes, and I'm a ballet dancer on the weekends. That's something that does not correlate. You want to stay away from that and stick with relevant experiences. Um, be concise and focused. Make sure that you keep your responses focused and to the point. Avoid rambling on or providing unnecessary details. I know for me, I'm a talker. So when I talk and I get to going on something, especially if I find interest in it, it's kind of hard to stop. You have to find that moment where you drop the mic. And I always tell myself that. So if I'm in an interview and I know that I may be oversharing or over talking, I find a point where I'm dropping the mic, meaning I'm finding a stopping point. I'm finding that stopping point that not only resonates with the interviewer, but it made me feel like, okay, I got everything out. And again, I use that tactic. It's literally, I don't know why I call it that, but I call it the drop the mic tactic just for myself, because like I said, I do sometimes tend to overshare, and that's okay. Sometimes you're that type of person. It happens. Sometimes you're a person that overtalks. It's okay. It happens. But having that moment where you drop the mic and you're like, okay, I'm done with this, but make sure that you have a strong beginning and a strong ending. That's something that you really, really want to focus on. So again, keep your responses short, sweet, to the point, avoid rambling on, and then aim to answer the question directly while providing enough content and details to support your points. If an interviewer asks you something specific, you don't want to just leave it as something so vague. You want to make sure that you are taking the time, of course, to answer the question, but giving enough details so that the interviewer can see how you would handle that situation, if that's the question that they're asking, or even just learning a little bit about you. But again, making sure that you're adding in enough information and not being super duper vague because you're trying to hurry up and get the interview over with. You don't want to rush that. But now that we have that, we'll go into using the STAR method. So one of the best ways to answer interview questions, especially about the tell me about a time when type questions, is using the STAR method. So the STAR method stands for situation, task, action, and result. And I want you guys to take a picture of this. So because this is something that's so important that you want to have. And then we also have handout sheets if you guys ever wanted to stop into the Career Center, and I can print you guys off a copy and then we can go over it. But for situation, you want to go in describing the content and background of the example. So for task, you want to explain the specific task or challenge you faced. Action, detail the actions you took to address the task or challenge, and then the result. Share the outcome and the results of your actions and any lessons that you may have learned and how that added value to you. So basically, you give a quick background of what was happening, what you had to do, what actions you took, and then what happened in the end. So just again, give quick background, what was happening, what did you do, what actions did you take, and what happened at the end. Keep it simple. It's like telling a story. Using the STAR method is pretty much telling a story within the answer that you're given. And it helps you to organize your answers so that you can have a clear story and so that you can stay on task. Because what you don't want to do is, again, go with the oversharing or the over talking, and then you're veering off into something that doesn't even make sense. And now the interviewer is lost, and now you've lost in the interview. And no, that does not always happen all the time, but believe it or not, employers, they do get overwhelmed during interviews because guess what? They're what? People, and people all the time. So they get stressed out just like us. They get overwhelmed just like us. And what you don't want to do is overwhelm the interviewer with so many things at once that they're not even focused on what you're saying in that moment because they're too busy trying to break down everything that you're saying. So keep it simple, keep it short, follow the method, you'll be good to go. So this is one of the questions that you'll more than likely get asked during an interview. No, it won't always be dressed as this, but it'll be something similar. Describe a time when you had to handle a difficult customer interaction. So you might say, so the situation was I was working as a cashier at a grocery store, and the customer was really upset about our return policy. The task was I needed to address their concerns and keep our store's good reputation going. So for action, I listened to the customer. I, made sure that they had my undivided attention in that moment. I made sure to apologize. People always forget the apology. Always apologize for everything. No, you're not a sorry individual, but just for the action of your company, your employer, you always want to apologize. So apologize for the inconvenience, explain the policy, and try to offer some additional solutions like giving them store credit or going to possibly get a manager to see if the situation can be escalated and possibly the manager can offer some additional assistance to that customer. And the result, the customer left happy, thanked me, and even told my manager that I was helpful and professional. I learned a lot about how to stay calm and solve problems even when things got a bit tense. That's how you want to go ahead and add that on. So keep in mind the STAR method can be used for any question if you want to give an example, not just behavioral or situational questions. And even if you have experience and you haven't had experience in that type of situation, you can still use this method to answer the question and find something relatable that you would be able to use to go ahead and execute this question. So just make sure practice the STAR method. And again, we have handouts here in the Career Center. I would love to go over with you all. So just make sure you keep that in mind. We have about a few minutes, so we're going to go ahead and get through these next slides a bit quick. So we don't have to go over the practice part because then that would be what us trying to get in groups and stuff. We don't want to do that. So post-interview etiquette. You want to make sure that at the end of your interview, you want to say thank you in the email. Not maybe 24 to 48 hours afterwards. Thank them for having a chance to interview with you, remind them your interest, and just briefly reinforce why you think you're a good fit. You also want to stay in touch, but don't overdo it. Sending one email is fine. If you don't hear back from them, it is okay. Understand that it's not anything that you necessarily did wrong. You may not have done anything wrong. You may have had a really great interview, but sometimes some of us just aren't what a company is looking for, and you cannot beat yourself up about that. I have a lot of students who come in and then say, man, I had an interview. I thought everything was great, and it could have been great, but it might have just been something that the interviewer didn't necessarily gravitate to, and that is okay. The most important thing is making sure that you try again and that you don't feel defeated while not being getting called back or anything like that. And if you do get the job, understand that now you have the power to say that, oh, I want to go ahead and move forward, or I want to decline, because in that interview, that was the time for you to get, for you and the employer to get to know each other, to see if you were a good fit for them and if they were a good fit for you. I also skipped a slide, guys. I'm so sorry. It was the interview tips, the end of interview tips. So just to go over this really quickly, because we have a few minutes left. When you're wrapping up the interview, don't just say goodbye and leave. Always ask the next steps, like, hey, when is it a possibility that I would hear back from you? If they give you an answer, that's great. That can give you a timeline. But if they say, oh, we'll be in touch, try to be okay with that. I know that's not the best answer that you want to give, but at least it's something to send you out the door. And also, too, when you are done interviewing, try not to just leave, ask questions. Make sure that you have 4 to 5 interview questions set up, so that way you can choose one of those questions, or maybe 2, depending on how much time you have, and ask those questions to the employer, just because it shows that you care about the position and how to be the best candidate for that position. So if you ask a question based around the position, that always helps. So We already did this one, sorry. And then just to get to the end of the slide, these are all of our Career Center resources that we have on campus. So you can always come in and schedule an appointment for either a resume, cover letter, a mock interview, career exploration. If you need an assessment done because you don't know your major, come in, stop by, schedule an appointment with us, and then we'll be here to help. We also have the Career Closet on campus that is ran by Muriel Anderson McDade. You can also come into the Career Center and get a flyer for that way, so you'll be able to connect with her to see what hours and operations that she has available. Again, one of our job boards is Handshake. Now, Handshake is just a platform that you'll be able to help find different jobs, internships, whether it's in the area or somewhere out in LA, whatever whatever you choose. Handshake is a great tool to use. And again, pay attention to our recruiter events. I don't know if you guys are aware, but April 9th, which is this Thursday, we have our RCC Career Fair where all of the centers on campus that are hiring, they will be out on Terracina. That is something that if you are currently looking for a job right now, that's something that you want to come to. They have a virtual information session tomorrow. If you guys want to stop by in the Career Center or go on our Career Center website, you can take a look at that. They have a virtual information, but we have our the career fair on Thursday. So I hope to see people there. And then last but not least, we have our Ready to Work Wednesdays where you can come in every Wednesday and get help with your interview. And then that's it.